I really think now AI should not be a separate thing anymore. It should be part of our basic capabilities. I really find this incredibly important. Why? I mean, because we all know, for example, market insights, and you can call it market research, you can call it from claims data, but the insights in general. We have to really embed AI into insight generation.
Welcome to the Leading Minds podcast, where we delve deep inside the minds of the top life sciences executives. Join us as we unravel how they think, their vision for the industry, the purpose that drives them, and how they are moving the industry forward while fueling growth for their companies and their teams.
This is Leading Minds, and I'm your host, Jasmeet Sawhney. In every episode, we meet a leader who has made a lasting impact in the life sciences industry and continues to drive the industry forward. We go beyond the name and the title to unravel their personality, their beliefs, their mission, and most importantly, to understand how their brilliant minds are changing the world for the better. Before we get started, I want to thank our exclusive sponsor, Axtria, a leading global provider of cloud software and data analytics solutions to the life sciences industry. Now on to today's episode. I'm truly honored to introduce our guest, Dr. Nuray Yurt. Nuray is a business strategist and one of the top authorities in the field of data science and AI in the life sciences industry. She is currently the head of integrated research and forecasting at Merck, where she leads multiple analytics teams globally. Previously, she was the worldwide head of AI solutions at Novartis. Nuray is the president of PMSA, which is a nonprofit organization that has been instrumental in bringing together the pharmaceutical data science and analytics community for over 45 years via conferences, publications, and other community efforts. She's also actively involved with other nonprofits through interfaith organizations in New Jersey, where she lives with her husband and 3 kids. Nuray, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jasmeet. This is actually super exciting. Thanks for the great introduction.
Sure, absolutely. You deserve all of that, Nuray. It's an honor to be talking to you. So, Nuray, let me start by asking you about your current role and responsibilities. Can you tell our audience a little bit about the areas you're managing and any specific priorities you're working towards?
Thank you, Jasmeet. Actually, I feel very privileged because I'm leading an amazing team. I'm mostly focusing on the forecasting, peer research analytics, and market research. These are more traditional capabilities, as you would call them. So that is actually what I'm focusing on right now. And again, an amazing team, so I feel lucky. I've done some of these roles in my past history as analyst, as data scientist throughout the years. So it just feels like coming back home after my, adventurous travel through AI world. Now really we're trying to make sure that the technology, AI, data science gets its place in this traditional capabilities of pharma.
That's amazing. And that's kind of the center of the conversation today. But before we get to that, I know along with your day job, you also play an active role in outside organizations, specifically as the president of PMSA, where you have volunteered for a long time. So first tell us what attracted you to PMSA and what are the primary goals you're trying to achieve?
Absolutely. No, this is actually great. I mean, as you were reading my bio, I think people can realize I do like public service. I do really giving back, giving back to the community. My life started in the United States in academia, right? So it was really all about academia, giving back, teaching. I always enjoyed that aspect. But obviously, when I finished my PhD, I realized I just needed a little bit more excitement, a little bit more, how do you say that? Like current solve problems in a faster pace. So that was, kind of fitting more to my personality. Not that anything is wrong with the other. When I started the pharmaceutical industry, when I actually meet with Pharmaceutical Management Science Association, which has been there for a long time, bringing vendors, third parties, and people who are actually passionate about data science together. I initially started with volunteering just to see what they were doing because they do a lot, and it actually takes a while to understand what's happening and how you can contribute. That's kind of how I spent my last 10 years with them. And then I was part of the conference organizing committee. I was part of the publication committee, the journal committee, because it also kind of spoke to my academic background. But I also thought that it was a great way to get to meet with new talents, people who actually contribute to the industry, have really great conversations with them, and almost grow up with them, which I feel like what I did in the past 10 years. And that's actually how it's also giving back to the community. You get to meet with a lot of professionals who are very passionate about this and how to bring this to the life sciences industry. Because let's be transparent, we're not the cool kids on the block, right? So when it comes to data science and AI, and I felt like having a community like that really helps me stay motivated, stay focused, and enjoy what I do, but also give back to the larger community in data science.
Yeah, you're right, Nuray. I mean, that's such an important aspect of growing in your career, right? While you grow, you also have to give back. And you do not realize how much you get back by doing that. I'm really proud of how you have actually grown with PMSA and the life sciences community in that way. And PMSA plays an important role. I mean, we have all been part of that journey in facilitating the knowledge sharing and collaboration among the pharmaceutical professionals. And many thanks to you for enabling that for the industry. Now, switching gears to the topic of today's episode, which is artificial intelligence. You are one of the industry's foremost experts on AI, and you have deep insights on how it has evolved in the context of the pharma industry. Where do you see pharma in this, what I call the AI hype cycle? And are you happy about how things are progressing?
That's a great question, Jasmeet. I know obviously I'm an optimist myself. I really am happy how things are progressing. But I think, as you pointed out, which I fully agree, this is also a hype, right? But unfortunately, some things doesn't get embedded before it becomes a hype. We have been in this journey for a long time. Before AI, it was big data. And I still remember my pitch to my boss trying to buy claims data at the time when I was in Novartis, because it was so expensive and everybody was looking at me like, why? Like, why do we have to spend this much money? And then, of course, having every analyst who has never used claims data then adapt to the claims data because it was so complex, it required a lot more coding. I still remember those days. But I think once it becomes a hype, then everybody asks the question and becomes curious. And I think in pharma, we've gone through that. I think we had to define AI as it applies to pharma. We're a highly regulated industry. We're never data generators, right? Data is generally generated by another third party for another purpose. We're not the Amazons and Netflixes of the world. And it took a while for pharma to recognize that, right? Because generally our pharma leadership looks to technology firms or the consumer firms to say that, oh, okay, they're going ahead. But actually, we do have a lot of differentiation with those industries just because of the way we are, right? Our customers don't pay for the products and the medicines we give them. There's many more stakeholders in the mix. But I am definitely happy with the progress we're making. We're slow and steady, so I don't complain about it. Sometimes we don't do fail fast, even though we say we really want to do it. But I think we're going kind of on point and slowly. But even if after the hype goes away, I actually think that we will continue to develop. And that's actually why I feel very fortunate to get the role that I got right now, because I really feel like if we can bring the AI, not being a separate capability, but to the existing capabilities that we're definitely going to use, like forecasting, like market research, like payer research analytics, and like data science, then actually it's going to stick. And I'm really very hopeful for that.
That makes a lot of sense, Nuray. Since you have been involved in so much work in the field of AI, now, what are some of the learnings from these projects? Because you've seen the progression, you've seen where it's lagging and the struggles and the challenges. What have you learned with all this work?
I have to say, my learnings are not that different from the AI community, right? It's never about the technology. We always say this, right? Like, it's never about the technology, but we still want to do the best technology possible. I think in pharma, really making sure that people are comfortable with that is an important aspect. And I'm going to say this because for a data scientist, for a technology person, it is the most important to get the best technology, right? So when you're doing AI, we're all talking about when we machine learning models, we are talking about LSTM, XBoost. Like we really want to go to all the way to the end. But in my experience with a lot of our partners and stakeholders, it is more about the process for them. It's because they are never seeing under the hood. They're really not seeing when we say AI, what really are we doing, what models we're doing. It was more about being able to explain those models, being able to explain what's happening, which kind of makes us choose between the technical advancement versus explainability, which I think we've learned over time. And I think we're making better bets because as our talent wants to go all the way to the technology improvements, I think we have to sometimes stay slower and make sure that we can explain that to others. We can explain and create some comfort with that. But I'm going to also give credit to other outside factors, right? So for example, when Google started to give us dates on our calendar based on the purchases we made, right? Like your plane tickets, they show up, do you want to add to your calendar? When that started happening, our sales and field force started feeling better about next best action. I mean, I was one of the teams who actually presented the next best action, and we called it something else at the time to my leadership. And when I finished presentation, I've seen like the shock in people's faces, and everybody's like, this is so complex, we're not doing it, right? And then when we had those driven suggestions by Google, everybody said, oh, okay, it's not that bad. I'm just saying yes or no, right? And then it really opened up the gates for next best action because people now lived it through. Let's be honest, like when ChatGPT launched, now AI became more closer to people. It didn't become like a black box. It just became a little bit more, yes, now I know what to do with that to a certain point, even though it's just the LLM models, right? We all know it's just not the AI, you know? However, outside factors also helps a lot. But this is a big learning for me. Timing it right is important, and also making it explainable rather than picking the best technology. Just understand our stakeholders further as we're, implementing AI.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is have it embedded in the process, and it has to be explainable and accessible to the people who are going to use it, the end users, and it becomes naturally more effective.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And that is very interesting. Now, that's a great progression, as you rightly said. But looking into the future, where do you see pharma companies headed? How do they make the best use of AI to improve now the outcomes for the business and the customers and the patients?
Yes. No, I mean, I think the theme that I was stating, Jasmeet, is I really think now AI should not be a separate thing anymore. It should be part of our basic capabilities. I really find this incredibly important. Why? I mean, because we all know, for example, market insights, and you can, you can call it market research, you can call it from claims data, but the insights in general. We have to really embed AI into insight generation. We have to really embed AI into forecasting, which is never, right, for companies, anybody who actually has stocks in the Wall Street, that's a kind of a mandate to get really better and better in forecasting. Our access for the patients, that's what we do, right? Like we actually give them access for medicine. So to me, AI has to be now part of the regular capabilities that everybody needs, everybody knows, rather than another separate project on the side or on its own. I think that's actually the big step. I don't think it's going anywhere. Like we all know iPhones came and we all stayed with them. Data generation came, but I feel like AI is going to be maybe more quiet. The buzz is going to slow down. But I think once we can actually embed it in the regular day-to-days, like people are not going to talk as much about AI, but they're really going to utilize it.
We'll continue the conversation after this quick message from our exclusive sponsor, Axtria. Improving commercial and patient outcomes. That's our goal at Axtria. We are at the forefront of life sciences digital transformation with the most advanced cloud software and data analytics solutions, enabling companies to manage data, derive artificial intelligence-powered insights, and streamline business operations across the product lifecycle. Because of our deep expertise in the life sciences domain, we are the top choice for life sciences companies for their digital and business transformation initiatives. We work with all of the top global life sciences companies who consider us their true partners, driven primarily by our most important differentiators, our people, and our inclusive and progressive culture. which is focused on developing the life sciences leaders of tomorrow. With every project, we are helping our customers achieve commercial success. But more importantly, we are helping them improve health outcomes for patients. See what we can do for you at axtria.com.
Nuray, that is unique and very powerful point of view on how pharma should move away from this buzz to truly leverage the power of AI. Now, in our last connect, I remember you talked about this distinct difference between simply operationalizing AI versus leveraging it for sustainable and effective operations. Can you explain to the audience what is the difference and why it matters?
What we're trying to do, and I think what we're setting the expectations from our stakeholders is like, okay, another chatbot, right? A better search engine. That's exactly what everybody's waiting for. And they all think about that as separate, right? That's actually the operationalization of AI. We just, say, okay, we have a Gen AI project. We kind of sell it to everyone and everybody sees it. But then what happens? Right? Everybody either uses it, everybody forgets about they had it, right? And we had a lot of investments that we've done. But we have to make them sustainable and effective, right? Like, because then 2 years later, especially if you guys have been in the companies that you have been long enough, you see that they go away and then we got to create another new AI. And some things we improve and some things we don't, but we never start where we left. We go all the way back and then start. And I think, to me, sustainability and effective operations is going to be the key. That's kind of how I see the future, right? If I can actually make my forecast much more efficient, much more effective, requiring less manual work, requiring less churn, requiring less time for people to search and find the things they need, right? So to me, that is actually sustainability. And then when you talk about effectiveness, especially when we actually talk about how we actually make sure that everything that we do with AI becomes more effective, more embedded, like the market research, right? Like, so we do market research reports, we put them somewhere and we never go back and look. Maybe for the moment they're, effective, but then later they don't become effective. But then if you can utilize AI for this and understand, this is going to become, I think, where we're going to sustain the AI as part of our daily lives. That's kind of how I see it going in the future, honestly, because I don't think we will have as much investments as we had during the hype time.
Wonderful. I love the way you bring clarity to how AI can help with operational excellence that will actually result in specific business outcomes. And you talked about these capability areas and examples, which is really insightful. Now, do you feel pharma leadership and teams are prepared for this new paradigm? What do they need to do to change for the teams to work effectively, especially in an increasingly global setting? And do you see software playing a crucial role?
I'm sure softwares and technology will play a crucial role. I'm a more people's person, and I feel like, first of all, the leadership has to be a bit more long-sighted. Because in pharma, as I said, because they move slow, we generally always, I feel like, play catch up, right? Like, so our leadership says, oh my God, look at what happened. Like, we have to now run and catch. But I feel now with the new industry dynamics that are happening, like blockbuster drugs are going off patent a lot closer, and it's a lot harder to improve the medicines we have, which is great because we really have great medicines. There's still a lot of rare diseases to do research on. But let's also see where pharma industry is. When you're looking at this, I think we just need to kind of focus on some of the quicker wins we can do in the next couple of years. Globalization, I think, will continue. In my opinion, that's going to be even more and more important. I look at this, and again, maybe because I'm a mathematician by training, but I look at this as a big equation that we're going to need to solve for with different variables. People, what they want to do, how they want to move their careers, the global setting, and also the where pharma industry is. And I think that is kind of the piece that is, I think to me, this is part of leadership itself, really seeing a short-term and a long-term vision and adjusting the speed, because I've seen leaders who went too fast. I've seen leaders who went too slow. I think that is kind of a good leadership as well, adapting to the paradigm, but timing it right, which is not an easy solution, by the way. I just say this is what should be done, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I think that's bang on, because having a vision and timing it right both are very important to get this thing right. So I think that's amazing. As this new paradigm takes shape, it is natural that how we measure outcomes will also change. So, any thoughts on KPIs or metrics that the industry needs to focus on?
Generally, as corporate world, we are always on KPIs and outcomes measurement. And sometimes this puts us into trouble, right? Because then it's very hard to pace this speed because we're rushing to get things done. We're rushing to get KPIs. I really think that if we can create a better story, and I think this is where data science and AI experts has to really improve on better messaging in terms of better improved narratives, I want to say, to really make sure that the KPIs tracking doesn't become just numbers, but it actually becomes a story to track. And I see this now. I'm sure all the ChatGPT users can really understand the narratives aspect of things. How you ask the question really gets you the answer. And I think we have to do more and more shaping of the questioning and measuring success and bringing in more KPIs, which are not just two-dimensional. It's not just about, okay, who used it, how much it's used it, okay, what did they do? But I think how do we really get closer to the patients? How we can make the insights travel within the company faster, right? Especially for big companies, we all think about, okay, we get insights faster, but travel within the companies, even effectiveness and sustainability, I think, aspects. How do we launch better? Absolutely. How do we learn and then continue to launch better? And I think these are all important success factors that we're going to need to think through. But I feel like as the technology people, we also have to get better at how do we define success and how do we share that?
That makes a lot of sense, Nuray. And this evolution is going to continue. And I think, as you rightly have mentioned, that these metrics are going to evolve as well. And it's very dependent and contextual on the situation that you're working on. So I think that'll be an important thing to track over time. That was the last question of the main segment. So now I want to move on to some fun questions. I will be asking you some rapid fire questions that you will need to respond to quickly. Are you ready for that?
Sure, Jasmeet. We were just talking about speed, and now you want me to go
rapid
fast.
fire. You talked about speed.
That's cool. Awesome.
All right. So, what comes to mind when you hear the word leadership?
Compassion. People say this like compassionate leadership, servant leadership, and everything is discussed. But I really feel like when I look at my own bosses in the past, compassion always stayed with me as a big learning. So that's what I think about. I don't know if I'm supposed to explain my answers or I just say and stop. I don't know. Just you tell me.
You can keep it rapid fire. Next one. Name your mentor or mentors or someone who has inspired you.
I have so many, but I'm just going to give my first boss from Novartis, Karen Jacobs' name as the first person. She really inspired me deeply. But obviously, there's a lot of HBR authors. I mean, I think recently we're all reading Adam Grant. Ray Dalio is another one. I really do appreciate their perspectives from far.
Awesome. What's some of the best advice you received?
I think, Karen Jacobs, when she told me not everybody maximizes profits, that was a big learning for me. As an economist who came to the pharma world, you assume the companies maximize profits, and we're right, but not individuals. And I think that was a huge, important aspect as you're selling your ideas, discussing with others. It's so important to understand what is the equation that they're solving for themselves is really important.
Wow, that is deep. That's deep. I love that. Name your favorite book or books.
Think Again with Adam Grant really was a nice book for me that I was able to read recently, but there's many that it just doesn't come to my mind fast right now.
No problem. And I love Adam Grant. What do you do in your free time?
I actually do a lot of volunteer work. Other than that, that means meeting with a lot of people. And I do give a lot of speeches. But then, so for that, I also prepare a lot of PowerPoints and read a lot of books. So I guess that's kind of sums it up.
All right. You're truly an academic.
Yes,
even outside of work.
Yes, I know. Exactly. I know.
Okay. You can have dinner with any person in the world. Who would be the three people you would pick?
So I'm going to actually say three of the founding fathers of United States of America, because it really amazes me sometimes how they actually established the Constitution. It really amazes me because some of them are like, wow, like so long-term planning. And I don't see a lot of successful people who can actually plan long-term that well. So I would love to actually have dinner with founding fathers since I can go back into history, I guess.
That's amazing because you rightly said the Constitution that was written, it's still very relevant and applies. Nuray, those were some amazing rapid fire responses. I love them. And thanks for sharing your perspectives and insights with our audience. As I mentioned when we started, you are a leading mind in the industry when it comes to artificial intelligence and its evolution in the industry. Thanks for your amazing work that is driving the industry forward and bringing it together through your work at PMSA and other organizations. Many congratulations on all the success. And thank you so much again. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Same, Jasmeet. I have to say, I mean, I was a bit skeptical when the first time the idea came through. I didn't realize I was going to enjoy, and your questions were very thoughtful. So thank you. This was actually has been so much fun. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. To the audience, you are the most important part of the show. Because of you, we are the top show in the life sciences industry. Thank you so much for joining us today, and tune in soon for the next episode of Leading Minds.
Thank you for listening to the Leading Minds podcast by Life Sciences Voice. Please share and hit subscribe with your favorite streaming platform. For more information, please visit our website at lifescivoice.com.